The bubonic plague has cropped up in the US for the first time in nearly a decade. A sleepy village in England has a very relevant story to tell about one outbreak that has echoed down the centuries. The Great Plague arrived at Eyam in a harmless-looking bundle of cloth in late August 1665, sent by a merchant in London to the village tailor Alexander Hadfield. The cloth was in fact carrying infected rat fleas. Within days, Hadfield's assistant George Vickers was dead and soon followed to the grave by Hadfield himself and his children. The only surviving person from the household was his wife Mary. It was a story not unique to Eyam. Thousands of settlements across Britain at that time were suffering the same fate, just like they'd done in prior centuries. But this time, Eyam's story took a unique turn. As the plague began placing its deathly grip around the village, local church leaders, Rector William Mompesson and former Puritan minister Thomas Stanley decided to throw up a ring of stone around Eyam to quarantine the inhabitants, marked by boundary stones encircling the village. No one could leave or enter Eyam, but supplies could be left on marked rocks by local merchants. In return, coins, doused in vinegar in an attempt to disinfect, were left as payment. Other measures introduced included the agreement that families bury their own dead, and all church services were to be relocated to a local natural amphitheatre, allowing the attendees to spread themselves out in the open air. To our modern eyes, Eyam's story may not seem that unusual, but you have to remember that this was 17th century England, a time of very poor scientific understanding and huge political and religious upheaval. Religion ruled all, and many people assumed the plague was a punishment from God for the world's sins. There was a widespread belief that miasma, the smell or bad air from rotting material, along with cats and dogs, was responsible for spreading the disease. Cures in 1665-66 had barely moved on from the Black Death outbreak of the 14th century. By the end of the outbreak, 257 people had died in Eyam, but the village's efforts to prevent the spread may well have saved lives in neighbouring settlements. Now Eyam's plague efforts are generally celebrated as an incredible act of collective self-sacrifice by a community who truly acted as one to protect the many. And it's also become an interesting episode for academic research.